actually in the screen?
Yep, you're right in the bullseye middle. And it's recording. I don't like it.
Why?
Because you're not smiling or anything.
Well, I'm not ready to shoot yet. Hey there, loyal listeners, or if you just might happen to be tuning in for the first time. As you probably know, I do not have a commercial-grade broadcast studio, fancy lighting, good-looking MCs, or anything like that. All I have is a workbench, me, and some sometimes pithy commentary. So, yeah, that's about as good as it gets. So, this video is probably going to be NSF, not safe for work. And it's not because we're going to have any cute girls in skimpy lingerie. It's going to be not safe for work because some of you are going to look at what I'm doing here and they're going to go, ah! And your coworkers might not appreciate that because the ones who are OCD or perfectionists are probably going to look at this and go, oh my gosh, what did he build? Why did he do that? Well, that's fair, and you know, I can respect that. But here we go. So anyway, as you see this zoom in picture, these are fuse holders, 2 of them, and I have been waiting, nearly 3 years to get to this project. Ever since I really started adding stuff to the truck, I really need 2 big circuit sets. I need one that's hot at all times to the battery, and then I need one which goes on and off with the ignition. And right now, the wiring under the hood is not great. It's safe. It's fused and everything. You know, it's not just straight to the battery or anything crazy like that, but it's definitely not where I wanted it to be. So here's why I said it's not safe for work. Here's what's going on over here. So I figured out that these would fit pretty nicely in the driver's side kick panel. There is a big space like way up underneath the dash over to the left side of the brake pedal, and on that panel is a pretty good place to mount this. And so these 2 fuse blocks are going to go on there, and like I said, one of them is going to be wired direct to the battery through a large fuse holder, and then one of them is going to be connected to the circuit which is already in the truck, which I said, and as I mentioned, was kind of not great. And so why I'm saying that if you have OCD, well, here's what's going on. Instead of having all of the parts, you know, that I would need, or, you know, whipping out my $270,000 CNC machine and making a beautiful bracket out of aluminum, I had this laying around, which I'm not even positive what it does. It used to be L-shaped, and I think it might be a holder for a gauge. Anybody else who recognizes it can go ahead and ring in. No, actually, you know what? I take that back. I think I do know what this is. I think this is the holder for the trailer plug, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It's got 4 holes in it. Anyway, I took and made a Z bracket out of it, but then I found out that the Z part wasn't deep enough. And if I try to re-Z this, as you can see, there's very little material left. It's not going to work. So here's the OCD part. As you can see, I put legs on it, which some people would probably say is absolutely terrible. You know, you're going to look at that and go, "Oh my gosh, really? I can't believe he did something that ghetto." But okay, it's up under the dash. Nobody can see it. Yes, I know some people are going to be offended. If Ray never sees these videos, yeah, he's probably going to hate them. He's one of the guys on Club Frontier, and he does very nice work, and probably takes twice as long, I would imagine, on a lot of these projects. But again, like I said, he does great work. I get it. Everybody's got a level of what they can live with. So anyway, so here's the covers for the fuse blocks, and here's my 8 gauge power wire, which is going to get connected, and I'm going to be feeding that a 60 amp circuit. And here we go. Put these on. Well, obviously these little nuts have to come off first, so obviously these are not sitting correctly, but there's basically what they look like, and they're going to get installed onto the panel. And bear with me here. I'm going to walk out to the truck, and I'm going to show you what it looks like right now, and why this project's been waiting but very necessary. Okay, so here we are, back to where we were on the last broadcast. Remember when I showed everybody my new Group 31 battery? So here is the fuse holder that's going to get installed. This is one that I picked up from Beezy Boy. Some people call it Amy, otherwise known as Amazon, right? And so it's got a little pigtail here and an inline fuse holder, and this has a nice A&L 60 amp inside of there. I like these better than the inline glass fuses because those kind of only rely sort of like on a friction, kind of an ears type of thing to make the electrical contact, and so you can get some corrosion in there, and if their sockets are not perfectly formed, they don't always make great contact, and that can be problems. I prefer things that are, actually physically connected. So let me see if I can zoom in through the cover here. It's got a little bit of smoke color to it. I think you can see that. The fuse actually is screwed down on both ends, which is nice. I prefer that style connection. All right, so now that we're done with that, let me put that down. I'm going to come over here to the other side of the truck, and here's what I was talking about that was waiting for a while to get to. Yes, these wires are actually connected. Yes, they do go somewhere. You can see right here that there is this giant loop which was just coiled up nice and neat and tucked away inside the engine compartment, waiting for the day that I got around to installing this fuse block. So we'll go ahead and proceed from here, belabor the point, right? I'm going to move forward on the assembly, and I'll come back to you, what it's probably going to be 20 to 30 minutes in my time, but just a few seconds in yours, and we'll catch up on the next part. Here we go. All right, so here we are back again. Obviously, we're on the underhood portion. Ran into a couple small snags. As you can see, I got the cable run across the firewall, brought that out. Since I ordered a 25-foot roll of number 8, I decided to pull both segments. This wire loom that I had, the inside diameter was just big enough for both of these to fit, so I brought the other leftover piece through. That way, whenever I decide to add another circuit, because are these projects ever really done, right? They're not. So you come over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and bundle up the remaining cable in a few minutes to keep that out of the way. It's not connected to anything right now. It's just basically run across through the loom just so that it's there when I get ready, probably for a 12 volt to 120 inverter. Anyhow, so like I had showed before, here's the fuse holder I'd purchased, and I went to put the wire in, and I didn't like how sloppy it was. This is an 8 gauge, but it didn't fit great. This is oxygen-free copper, and that is going to cost you approximately twice what the copper-clad aluminum actually cost. So this roll, 25 feet, number 8, was $20. If you get it in CCA, it's only $10. So if you think that you're seeing a bargain and you're going, oh boy, I'm getting a 25-foot roll, only 12 bucks. Yeah, you're probably getting aluminum. I wouldn't recommend that. I did use CCA for the light bars because it was cheaper and they don't draw a whole lot of power. If you're running things that are more power hungry and that you're more in tune with what those demands, those draws are going to be, and they're what they call more of a what's known as a critical circuit, where you don't want as much voltage drop, you should really be going with actual copper. So this fuse holder came with a pre-installed 12-inch line, and that's also copper. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up at this end. Like I said, I put this on here, put a little piece of shrink wrap. I'm going to go ahead and just put my ferrule back on. Go ahead and tighten down that set screw, get that all set and ready when the inside of the truck's all hooked up and all of the fuses are safed and everything's nice and neat where it won't short out anything. The last step is to go ahead and attach this straight up to the battery and fire power to everything, and then go ahead and test. So catch you in a few minutes. We'll be ready for testing. See ya. Okay, here we are, and so this is perching completed here. I'm getting a little tricky here, and I'm actually going to run the electric wire underneath the other one. So I'm putting
nuts here as standoffs. I actually don't have any plastic standoffs, unfortunately, hanging around. That would have been nice. So that's going to give the wire a little room, without bashing it or cutting through it or damaging the insulation. And so this is basically how they're going to sit. And the channel in the middle is going to be where the wiring runs for all the connections. So to get the the input power cables to sit the way I wanted, I had to go and do it this way. So the power cable for this guy is actually over here because these are reversed, so that the pluses are pointing inwards on both sides, so I can run my power channel right up the middle here. So that's what's going on here. And after I get this situated, I'm going to go ahead and connect the battery, and that's going to be pretty close to being done. I'm going to just get those branch circuits attached. There's right now there's only 2, so not a whole lot to see here, but there's as you can see, certainly space for future expansion, and that's the whole idea. You want to be able to add to your unit later without having to tear things apart or do any major rewiring. So there we go. Onward and upward. Catch you in a few. Okay, so here's the finished assembly. The wires aren't cleaned up yet, obviously, so you can see that they're kind of hanging around a little bit here. But this is ready now for the covers to be installed, and for me to go ahead and bolt this up in place. And after that, it's time for the battery connection. I already tested the ignition on-off circuit, which is working fine. So as soon as the battery's connected, I test the power port in the rear of the truck, which is actually right now the only thing that's on this run. But I went with a very heavy gauge wire suitable for a 50 ampere draw, thinking that probably somewhere along the way we'd be adding a portable refrigerator or a 120 inverter or some kind of other power draw item, that's going to want to suck up some larger amounts of current. So pre-planning is a good thing, so you don't have to do things twice, because heavier wire really doesn't cost a whole lot more than light wire, and it still takes the same amount of time to install. So plan ahead if you can, and just get everything ready to go. And here we are. I'm going to wrap it up. See you in a minute. Hi there, everyone. Just finishing up the coda to this video. Yep, the end of the end, fini. So here's the double fuse blocks mounted. I left the cover off of one just temporarily, so you can see what it looks like a little more bare. So over to the what would be the right side of your screen is the power input. Excuse me, which is the ignition switched circuit. The main battery panel is the one above, and that one's got the cover on it already. And if you look to the left, that is actually a ground bus. These are pretty nice fuse blocks. They actually have ground and power built into them, and so it makes connecting accessory devices a lot easier. I wasn't really thinking at first that I was going to use that, but now that I thought about it more, I believe I really am going to do that. Alright, so the Yasu 8900 is going to get hooked into here as well, and right now it's on a cigarette lighter socket, which probably is not a great idea. A few people have mentioned that they weren't particularly thrilled with that. It only draws about 10 amperes when it's transmitting, though, so not a big deal. But I am going to clean that up. I'm going to bring the wiring hardwired over from the passenger side. It's actually under the passenger seat right now, if you caught that in one of the other videos. And so what I'm going to be doing here actually is taking and installing a double pole, double throw on, off, on switch, which I'm going to wire actually to both of these fuse blocks so that I can just, with the flick of a switch, literally decide whether the radio goes on and off with the key, or if it's operational straight from the battery and the keys could be out of the truck. I like the idea of being able to use that if I'm working a repeater, or in, say, some sort of an emergency situation where the keys are out of the truck, and either myself or someone else is working the radio, but the vehicle is not running. As I mentioned in the other video, I've got that really nice Group 31 battery that I installed, which is a real hefty booger, and it's got a bunch of reserve power. So if I ever had to operate the radio, without the engine spinning, no alternator input going back to recharge the battery, that should give me a pretty healthy transmit time. You never know what kind of weird emergencies you're going to run out somewhere on the trail, or even if you get called up for civil service, some sort of unrest or anything. These days, if you're watching the news, you know how much weirdness and unrest is going on. So anyway, just thought that would be a neat idea, and thought that I would share that with everyone. That, like I said, just with a flick of a switch, I'm going to be able to select which power supply it's coming from, switched or unswitched. So that's going to be sometime later. So I haven't cleaned up all the wiring down here yet because of that reason. Just due to the fact that I still have a few more circuits to add before I go through with wire ties and, kind of tidy everything up. So that'll be in a little while. The parts are supposed to arrive, I believe, Monday, and this being Wednesday, the 5th of May. So when all that gets in here, and I'll go ahead and tidy all that up and get it installed, I'll probably do another video for that as well. So I will post that to everyone, and thank you for tuning into the RKO Radio Network. We are just under 42,000 views now, so thank you everyone for your support, and talk to you soon.